Good morning. For the sub, just know that they should be taking notes on the front side of their paper, not working on the back side. So if you could walk around and monitor. And also, to my students, looking at your homeworks that you're doing, you're not setting up these proportions. And it's really important that you do to show all your work to get your credit. So I want everybody to show their proportions on this today. And tomorrow, I will check the homework that was due today. So the sub, well, no, I'm sorry, we're not going to check it today. They're just going to give you your, to correct it. So you should already have that. So sub, anytime you need to pause the video, because I'm going kind of fast on this so I can get it down to 15 minutes for YouTube, but you can pause it anytime you need to if people need to catch up. All right, so Roberto was able to mow 1/3 of a customer's lawn in 45 minutes. What portion of the lawn can he cut in 1 hour? So let's go back and underline the important information. We know that Roberto can mow 1/3 of the lawn in 45 minutes. That's important. And the question is, what portion of the lawn can he cut in 1 hour? And the 1 hour is important, and what portion we don't know. So I'm going to call that P. So P will be the portion of the lawn here. So now we're going to set up our proportion, and these are actually easier than last night's homework because there's only one straightforward proportion to do, and it gives you the answer right away. So we want to look at this. First of all, the proportion, he mows 1/3 of the lawn in 45 minutes. And some of you say, well, which one do I put in the numerator and which in the denominator? Technically, it doesn't really matter as long as you're consistent from both proportions. And make sure you label them so you can get them consistent. But normally we talk about cutting lawns per hour. How many can you cut in an hour or whatever, so or lawns per minute. So we're going to put the minutes in the denominator. And the labels are important because now I'm going to do my other proportion that I want to be equal to this because I want it to be the same, because he does it at the same rate. So it's proportional. So our other ratio is going to be what portion of the lawn? Well, we don't know what portion, so we're going to make that P. And then in 1 hour, well, we were going to put minutes, and so time has to be together, but it does have to be in minutes. And they've got an hour. So we're going to have to convert the hour to minutes, which is a lot easier than converting this minutes to hours because it'd be fractional. So we're going to say 60 minutes is the same thing as an hour, so we have to put 60 minutes down here. Now minutes match up and lawns match up from the numerator to the denominator. So now the easy part, we just cross multiply. So we're going to take 1/3 times 60 and 45 times P. So 45P is the way we write that algebraically, 1/3 times 60. And this is the part of the work that you have to show. I want to see what is it you're multiplying. Because step by step, if you don't show it, then sometimes you may make a silly mistake and you can't get credit when you actually are doing the right thing. So 1/3 of 60, well in our DMRs we know whenever we take 1/3 of something, we talked about this a lot, that means just divide it by 3. But if you want to be careful, then you can do two fractions that are being multiplied. So we got a common factor in the denominator of 3. We can divide out the common factor in the numerator, which is 3. And so 60 divided by 3 is 20. And we have 20 over 1, so it's just 20. So now I'm going to move up here, and I'm going to rewrite that 45P. Whoops, 45P is equal to, that looks terrible, let me redo that, oops. So 45P equals 20. So now I want to get P alone. So I'm going to have to divide both sides by 45 because I got 45 times P and I want to undo that. So we do the opposite operation and we divide those, we get 1P or P. Over here we get, whoops, 20 out of 45. 20 divided by 45. So here I have P. Here I have 20 over 45, which can be reduced. And you think, well, Ms. Stevens, it's a fractional answer. Yeah, remember we're trying to find a portion of the lawn, which could be a fraction. And this portion of the lawn is 1/3, so this is probably a fraction. So I'm going to divide by 5, common factor, and I end up with 4/9. And if you want to think about, okay, related to a fraction that we know 1/2. And 4/9 is pretty close to a half. If it was 4/8, it would be a half. Well, since the denominator is a little bit bigger, then this is going to be a little bit less than a half. So it's a little less than 1/2. but our solution is 4/9 of the lawn. LAWN. All right, so then the second part of this, example 2 goes along with this. It says, from the information in the first example, how long would it take Roberto to cut the entire lawn? So, a new question, same information. How long will it take him to cut the entire lawn? So the entire lawn is one lawn, because before we were talking about a third of the lawn. So we're going to use the same proportion that we had earlier, at least not the same ratio, I'm sorry. We're going to say 1/3 of the lawn he can cut in 45 minutes. But this time, we want to know how long it will take, okay? That's what we're trying to find, how long it will take. So how about we let that be the T for time. And he's cutting the entire lawn, so it's one lawn. So if we're doing 45 minutes, and we want to know how long it's going to take, then T goes in the denominator. We're doing 1/3 of the lawn. Well, here we're doing the entire lawn, so we're doing one lawn. Now we're going to cross multiply. So we're doing 1/3 times T and 1 times 45. All right, so 1 times 45 equals 1/3 T. Well, 1 times 45 is 45 T, and 1/3 T. So now we're going to undo this division, which is really dividing by 3. So if we have 1/3 T, the way we can undo that is multiply by its reciprocal. And you say, well, we divide because we're multiplying. Yeah, dividing by 1/3 is the same thing as multiplying by 3/1. So we're going to multiply by, we don't need to make it 3/1 over here, we'll just make it 3. So now if we come up here, we got to do 3 times 45, which 3 times 40 is 120, and then 3 times 15 is 15, and 120 and 15 is 135, is equal to, the 3's cancel, so we're left with just 1 T. So T is equal to 135 minutes. Now you may say, most customers will be like, 135 minutes, what's that? Do the math for me. Okay, so when we do the math, that would be, if we're converting from minutes to hours, we would say 135 and divide that up into section of hours, 60 minutes in an hour. So we'll say divide by 60. So 2 times 60 is 120. And now there's 15 remaining. Well, I don't want to do decimals because hours are in fractions. Well, 15 out of 60. Well, what's 15 out of 60? That's 15 minutes, so it's 2 hours and 15 minutes. So that's your solution, 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's what makes sense in real life. Okay, our last problem is, get this other side of the way. Okay, Tanya can walk 3/10 of a mile in 1/10 of an hour. How far can she walk in 1 3/4 hour? So she can go 3/10 of a mile in 1/10 of an hour. And the question is, how far can she walk in 1 3/4 hours? So again, we're just setting up a ratio. So 3/10 of a mile in 1/10 of an hour, so miles per hour. So we'll say 3/10 miles over 1/10, 0.1 hours. And does anybody know what 1/10 of an hour is? Divide 60 by 10. 1/10 divided by 10, so it's 6 minutes. But you can leave it like this. So how far can she walk in 1 3/4 hours? Because we want to keep the hours the same. So we have 1 3/4 hours. And how far can she walk? That's her distance. We don't know the distance. So we're going to put D, and that goes with miles. All right, so let's cross multiply. So 1/3 times 1 3/4. Now you can do one of two things. Not 1/3, 3/10, I'm sorry. So we can say 3/10 and change this to a decimal. This one is changeable because it's 1.75. You're going to need to keep those as fractions though if it was like 1/3 or 2/3 or some non-terminating decimal. But for now, let's just do it this way. And then we're going to have D times 0.1. So 0.1 or 1/10 D. So now we need to multiply 3/10 times 1.75. And when we do that, we get 5.25. And that's equal to 1/10 whoops, 1/10 D. So now we're going to divide both sides by 1/10. And we divide by 1/10, we end up with 5. I'm sorry, this is 0.525. Y'all did, and you can use calculators here. So this is 0.525, and we divide by 1/10. That's like multiplying by 10, so that's like moving the decimal point one place to the left. So it'd be 5.25, which is the distance, and the distance is in miles. And that would be the same thing as 5 1/4 mile. All right, so I want you to now do the back side, and whatever you don't get done is homework. I don't expect to see LTDs tomorrow, or not LTDs, but safety nets. Some of you are about to get LTDs and phone calls home. Please get these done. Work on them now and then get them done for homework if you need to. Have a good day.